Nama Shreshtham Manumapi Shachi Putram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Murupurim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Ahoradhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Prathita Kripaya Sri Guru Tam Natosmi Nindantang Pulakot Karena Vikasat Nipa Prasuna Chavin Prodhi Kritya Bhujadvayang Hari Hari Tyucharvadantang Moho Nrityantang Drutamasru Nirjarachayai Sinchantamurvitalam Gayantam Nijaparshadaik Parivritam Tam Gorameva Stumah Alibhik paripalitah pravalita Sanandamalokita Pratyasang sumanak falodaya vidho Samodamamudita Brindaranya bhuvi prakasa madhura sarvati sai sriya radha madhavayo pramodayatu ma ulalasa kalpa drama Jai Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath E Chai Gosai Rakori Charana Bandhan Jaha Hoite Vignana Shabhishta Puran Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Jai Sri Radhe Jai Jai Sri Radhe Jai Jai Sri Radhe Shyam. So today we start in the 7th Anuccheda, and this is a very long Anuccheda. So when we have these really long Anucchedas, I like to cut them down into smaller pieces. Obviously, time-wise, that's what it's going to take. So that means looking through and trying to see what exactly is going on in the whole Anuccheda, and then seeing how the little pieces, how the subsections fit into that whole. So I went through it and I came up with 10 or 11. Yeah, I think it's 11 subsections to this Anuccheda. So what are the other? What are they? Well, let's just look at the names I've given them. And then we'll have to just go skipping through the whole Anuccheda to see whether my titles are appropriate or not. But anyway, the first one is about two kinds of sākṣāṭkāra. So now he's going about antak-sākṣāṭkāra and bhī-sākṣāṭkāra. There's sākṣāṭkāra in your heart, and there's again sākṣāṭkāra outside with your very own eyes, that you see Krishna with your own eyes. That's bhī, outside sākṣāṭkāra. Antak-sākṣāṭkāra is when you see Krishna in your heart. All right? So that's the first thing. So now the second thing is, well, what about, that he starts to ask now. So it's really the first time that it's come up. But he's saying, well, what's the qualification for this seeing? All right? So he's turning the question around now. So you want to see Krishna. You want to see Krishna either inside, in your heart, like a yogi, or you want to see him externally, like a nitya siddha bhakta in the eternal abode, in Vaikuntha somewhere. So those are the two kinds of sākṣāṭkāra that take place. So then Jiva Goswami starts to ask, well, what is the qualification for seeing Krishna? So obviously the first thing is purity of heart. So one has to have purity of heart, and then he shows also by vyatirek, right? You have avyaya and vyatirek. So avyaya is stating it directly, but then by vyatirek he says when it's not there, that if there's no bhakti, then you don't get to see Krishna. Your heart is not pure. And there's a verse, a very nice verse. The example is quite often given of Narada, so it's all from that Narada chapter, the chapter 6 there in the first canto. So then after they say that, he says, well, then pureness of heart is not the only qualification. There's something else going on, right? And the heart must be pure for the internal potency to manifest. Okay, so there's the connection. It's not just that your heart is pure. The internal potency has to manifest. It has your senses have to be imbued with the potency to perceive Krishna. Otherwise, you don't see. So then the next one. So then the next big subject in this Anuccheda is Sākṣātkārābhāsa. The Sākṣātkārābhāsa. So it means that you see, so what if you see Krishna but you don't see him? Right? You see Krishna, actual Krishna, during his incarnation. He was present and people saw him, but not everybody saw him as the ultimate truth. So those who didn't see him as the ultimate truth, well, didn't really see him, did they? So in that famous verse about Mallana, Mashanik, and so on, that everyone was seeing Krishna differently. So the Bhojapate, Mrityu Bhojapate, Kamsa saw Krishna as death himself. Well, that's not so much fun. The young women saw him as Smarah Murtiman, as Kamadev incarnate. And Nanda and Yashoda saw Krishna as just their little kid, their little baby. So some people get to see Krishna. They see the seeing of Krishna is for them the ultimate attainment, and for others, it's not an attainment at all. It's nothing they seek out. No interest, or a wrong kind of interest. Bhojapate. Kamsa is thinking, how will I destroy Krishna? Shishupal. They saw Krishna, but they didn't have any of the internal potency invested in them, at least not in the way that one would immediately think. We're going to talk about Jaya and Vijaya later on in this Anuccheda as well. Right? So Sākṣātkārābhāsa, those who see Krishna but don't see him. Then there's a section, 2 kinds of mental impurity related to Bhagavan. Then the devotion's relation to material things. The Līlā-śakti. Sometimes a pure devotee appears to be overcome by Māyā. Krishna's enemies of 2 kinds. So you can see there's quite a wide range of topics covered in this chapter, or in this Anuccheda. So getting the overall picture, that's a bit of a challenge. But the ending of it is, only pure souls can have a direct vision of Bhagavan, and that is called mukti. So the conclusion. So there were many things that are being covered. So now, just because we went that far, I'm going to go and read the main verse. So this is a long Anuccheda. As I said, there's lots of different subjects that are being covered. And I think I'll go through those again. But here, let's see the final verse, right? After all that, what's the verse that he comes up with? What's his next? What's he going to give us next when he picks a verse from the Bhagavatam? It's never what you expect. tat-kara-sparśa-dhutākhilāśubhaḥ sapady abhivyakta-parātma-darśanaḥ tat-pāda-padmaṁ hṛdi nirvṛto dadhau hṛṣyat-tanuḥ klinna-hṛd-aśru-locanaḥ tat-kara-sparśa-dhutākhilāśubhaḥ sapady abhivyakta-parātma-darśanaḥ tat-pāda-padmaṁ hṛdi nirvṛto dadhau hṛṣyat-tanuḥ klinna-hṛd-aśru-locanaḥ tat-kara-sparśa-dhutākhilāśubhaḥ sapady abhivyakta-parātma-darśanaḥ tat-pāda-padmaṁ hṛdi nirvṛto dadhau hṛṣyat-tanuḥ klinna-hṛd-aśru-locanaḥ. So that verse is from the 7th canto, and it's from the 9th chapter. There we go. Here's the translation, friends. Therefore, Sri Shuka spoke of Prahlada's bliss in the form of Bhagavan realization as the supreme desirable object. And let's see the Sanskrit here. Ataeva Sri Prahladasya Bhagavat-sakshatkara krita sarvavadhunana purvaka brahma sākṣāṭkāra nantara Bhagavat-sakshatkara visheshatmaka nirvṛtiṃ paramabhishtatvena aha. So this is the final part of this long Anuccheda. So we go and get a look at what the ending is, so that we know where everything is leading. So therefore, Sri Shuka spoke of Prahlad's bliss, paramabhishtatvena, visheshatmaka nirvṛtiṃ. So it's the nirvṛti, the bliss, in the form of Bhagavan realization. Bhagavat-sakshatkara visheshatmaka nirvṛtiṃ. The particular form of Bhagavan realization as the supreme desirable object. So what is it? Bhagavat-sakshatkara krita sarvavadhunana purvaka Brahma sākṣāṭkārānantara Bhagavata-sakshatkara visheshatmaka nirvṛtim. So he seems to have two Bhagavat-sakshatkaras involved here. So this is what? So this was preceded by the destruction of all sins attained by Bhagavan realization after Brahman realization. Therefore, Sri Shuka spoke of Prahlad's bliss in the form of Bhagavan realization as the supreme desirable object. This was preceded by the destruction of all sins attained by Bhagavan realization after Brahman realization. Well, certainly, this is Bhagavat-sakshatkara krita sarvavadhunana purvaka Brahma sākṣāṭkārānantara Bhagavat-sakshatkara visheshatmaka nirvṛtim. So it's like he's saying that the bliss that he's gotten after getting even within the Bhagavat-sakshatkara. So there's a Bhagavat-sakshatkara, and within that Bhagavat-sakshatkara there's a Brahma-sakshatkara. That Brahma-sakshatkara is the sarvavadhunana, is that which eliminates all the material imperfections, impurities that are there. And then after that, then you have Bhagavat-sakshatkara. So the Bhagavat-sakshatkara that you get within Bhagavat-sakshatkara, but first being Brahma-sakshatkara. Ooh, that was a complicated one. You see Krishna, Bhagavat-sakshatkara. And within Krishna there are his Brahma nature. So his Brahma nature is what? That part of him which has no connection to the material world. So you may see Krishna, but upon seeing Krishna there's still going to be an elimination. There will still be some imperfection left, and those will have to be removed. So that was the Sarvavadhunana Brahma Sakshatkara. But after that, Anantaram, you have Bhagavat-sakshatkara. But this Bhagavat-sakshatkara is a Vishesh Atmaka nirvṛti. So it's a particular bliss that has a special kind of characteristic to it. Vishesh Atmaka. So it has the special characteristic of being the vision of Bhagavan after one has become completely purified of all the imperfections that would prevent one from experiencing him fully, forgetting that bliss. Okay, so there is what? The nirvṛtim paramabhishtatvena. So he's getting it as the paramabhishta, the most desirable object. Forgive me for drinking. So what's the verse? tat-kara-sparśa-dhutākhilāśubhaḥ. Okay, so the sarvavadhunana purvakam. That was what we was promised here. Okay, so tat-kara-sparśa-dhutākhilāśubhaḥ. So ashubha, inauspiciousness, akila, endless inauspiciousness, dhuta, washed away, sparsha, touch, tat-kara, by his hand. So that's all one big bahuvrihi samasa. The one who, for whom all sins or all inauspiciousness have been washed away by the touch of Nrsimha's hand on his head. Right? That's why Nrsimha touched Prahlad on the head. So with the touch of Nrsimha's hand, Prahlad, all of Prahlad's ashubha, all of his inauspiciousness was removed. Sapady abhivyakta-parātma-darśanaḥ. So this is also bahuvrihi samasa. So the subject here, saha, meaning Prahlada. So Prahlada is who? He's the one tat-kara-sparśa-dhutākhilāśubhaḥ. All the inauspiciousness that was still present within him. Remember all the inauspiciousness that Prahlada had gone through, right? Ashubha. So all those things, all the ways that Hiranyakashipu had tried to kill him. So all those difficulties had been finished with. No more problems. One has overcome all the hurdles. So all the ashubha, all the while a devotee in this world, one still has to face tamogun and rajogun and their consequences in one way or another. The result of our karma to be born in this time and this place, for better or for worse. All right, so the first thing was that all his material imperfections were eliminated by the blessing of, just like when Dhruva, in the last one, Dhruva, when Narayana touched him with the conch shell. And so all the imperfections that made it impossible for him as a young child to speak praises, those were all, he was infused with the power to speak, and so that he could glorify Narayan. So here also the same. So sapady, instantly, abhivyakta-parātma-darśanaḥ. So all the vision, abhivyakta, the clear vision of the Supreme Soul. tat-pāda-padmaṁ hṛdi nirvṛto dadhau. So in a state of complete bliss, he placed Nrsimha's feet, lotus feet, on his heart. hṛṣyat-tanuḥ, his body was filled with ecstasy. His hair was standing on end. klinna-hṛd-aśru-locanaḥ, he was klinna-hṛd. His heart was wet from the tears, aśru-locanaḥ, from the tears that were falling from his eyes. So there, the point here is to show that the vision of Krishna, the vision of Bhagavan, will be blissful, right? In order for it to be the supreme goal, it has to fit the standard. Now the basic standard we've had from the beginning of the Priti Samdarbha, it has to give you happiness, and it has to make you forget all your miseries. And not a trace is left of any suffering. And one is situated in pure bliss. This is a very high demand to have. What a ridiculous objective. But that was the task we set ourselves out to understand. If the human being is programmed, just like the little creatures, the most minor, insignificant creatures, they go towards life and away from death, go towards life and away from death, go towards life and away from death, yeah? So that's the go to happiness. If you go to happiness, then that's life. And if you go to misery, well, that's death. Yeah? So keep away from the misery and go towards life. So how do you define life? Well, that's the question. So now, what is the highest happiness? Now, Jiva has already taken it. The highest happiness, we're here. Bhagavat-sakshatkara. So how, from using the Bhagavat, he's got the definition. So now, before we get to Bhagavat-sakshatkara, well, here the thing is that Prahlad, he has the right attitude, right? So you don't get Bhagavat-sakshatkara without the right attitude. So when there were people living on the planet, when Krishna was here, people saw Krishna, they didn't recognize him. And then there were other people who were dear devotees, but sometimes they acted kind of in a not very exemplary way. So if God is all good, how come some of his devotees did not behave themselves in such a good way? I mean, it wasn't all, they weren't all saints. Yeah? We'll talk about some of those things. Even Yudhishthira. So there's a few of these pastimes that come up. That's part of this chapter, what it's about, right? What to do with those individuals who did something that's not exactly, they saw Krishna, but still Krishna accepted them as their friends, even though sometimes they didn't behave like good friends, things like that. Right, so let's read the translation. All the sins of Prahlad were dispelled by the touch of Bhagavan's hand, and the direct realization of the Supreme Brahman was revealed to him. Immediately, being happy, he took Bhagavan's lotus feet in his heart, with his hairs standing on end out of joy, his heart being soft, and his eyes full of tears. Well, klinna means more than klinna means wet. So that's the end of the chapter. So now what are the things that we go through? So I'm going to do it again. Just for today, I'm going to go try to do a general. This time I read them what they were, the English translations that I gave, but I don't know if those are good. So that's just a quick, after a first reading, or not a first or second or whatever number of readings. So let's just have a look. So the first thing, two kinds of sākṣāṭkāra. So pureness of heart is the first qualification. Right, so the chatma, so here is very interesting that right away he says, sa chatma sākṣāṭkāro dvividha. So why did he use the word atma sākṣāṭkāra? That's what I want to know. In the last two verses, he used the word Bhagavat-sakshatkara, and before that he had Brahma-sakshatkara. And we've had to use the word Atma-sakshatkara, but Atma-sakshatkara was not given particularly high status, right? It was one of the ones in the Vishnu Purana that were put aside. So when we're using the word Atma-darshana, well, obviously he's leaving something open to us. So is he leaving, so this tat-kara-sparśa-dhutākhilāśubhaḥ, this Atma-darshanam, not even Paratma-darshanam, it's Atma-darshanam. Sa chatma-sākṣāṭkāro dvividha. The two kinds of Atma-sākṣāṭkāra. So why did he say Atma-sākṣāṭkāra? Why doesn't he say Bhagavat-sakshatkara? Why doesn't he say Brahma-sakshatkara? Why doesn't he say Paramatma-sakshatkara? Why is he saying Atma-sakshatkara? I'm not fully happy with my understanding, so I'm going to be thinking about that a little bit more. But he says there are two kinds of Atma-sakshatkara, and one is Anta. So the examples that he's giving are of Bhagavat-sakshatkara. So that's what we assume that he means. By Atma here, he means Bhagavat, because those are the examples he's going to give. Right? So there's Antar Abhirbhava and Bahir Abhirbhava. So Abhirbhava means descent, yeah? Abhirbhava means appearing, coming down, Abhir. So the Abhir, the coming down into one's sensory perception, into one's mental or sensory perception. So Antak-sakshatkara means you see him with your mind. And Bahir-sakshatkara means you see him with your senses. So now how is that possible? So that's the question that comes up now. So that's the first subject. And so in order to tell about that, he gives the example, first of all, very nice example, from Narada Muni. So this is from the 6th chapter of the first canto, where Narada Muni tells his story, right? So he is so anyway, Narada Muni, he's singing the glories of Krishna and his pastimes, and then when he does so, Krishna appears to him in his heart or in his mind, in his heart, chaitasi. He very quick, as though he has been called, ahuta iva. So he comes as if I call him. So you call his name and then you see Krishna within you. That was Narada Muni. That's his previous life as he was doing his sadhana. And then the other example is the four Kumaras when they see Narayan in the chapter on the Jaya and Vijaya. When the four Kumaras go to Vaikuntha and end up cursing Jaya and Vijaya. That story. So there it says, there's a whole verse that tells how they saw him. Now then the next question. So then it says, Tatrantak sākṣāṭkāra yogyata. So what makes you qualified? Yogyata. What's the qualification for getting this internal vision? And then the next one, he says, external vision also is being explained through negative concomitants, right? Through the vyatireka. Because why? Because again, in that same chapter, where Narada Muni, this very famous verse is there. Hantasmina janmani bhavan mamang drashtum viharhati. Avipakva kashayanam durdarsho ham kuyoginam. So this important word here is avipakva kashayanam, that the coverings haven't been, or one's practices, or that avipakva kashayanam, the upadis have not completely been cleansed away. He still has imperfections of his yogi. So he says, kuyoginam. They're not perfected yogis. They've still got some flaws in their practice. So just like that, I'm very sorry to say, this is Krishna. I'm very sorry to say, Narada, but this is not last time you're going to be seeing me in this lifetime. Wasn't very nice, but that's the way Krishna is. I suppose it was a foretaste, because we're going to have this as a theme later on, right? In the Rasa Lila, that Krishna deliberately creates feelings of separation, so to increase the desire in the heart of the practitioner, to increase his desire. That's what Krishna does. So that was what Krishna appeared to Narada, right? He appeared to Narada, but he said, not again, because your heart is not pure, so you don't have the right to see me again. That was the trouble. All right, so now then he goes on. So what's next? He says, na kevalam shuddha chitta tvameva yogita. But it's not just the purity of heart that qualifies one. And then what's the answer to that? Well, tad bhakti vishesha vishkrita tad ichamaya tadiya swaprakashata shakti prakasha eva mula rupa sa yat prakashena tadapi nikshesham siddhati. All right. So it's not just the purity of heart that's the qualification. There's something more. And so at the very root of one's qualification to see Krishna or to see Bhagavan is the manifestation of that energy of the Lord that is self-revealing and arises out of his will through the manifestation of some particular kind of devotion. Okay, that's the longest one. So tad bhakti vishesha, a particular kind of devotion. So tad bhakti vishesha, so according to your, we'll get more of this as we go along, a certain amount of, there's a degree and quality, right? Quality and quantity, those two things. So, so according to the quality and quantity of the bhakti, so the bhakti vishesha, avishkrita, it comes out into the open. So then what happens is your bhakti, that particular kind of bhakti and that particular kind of quality has a reaction in Krishna. Krishna responds to bhakti. So by responding to bhakti, what happens? His Līlā-śakti, his desire awakens. Now I'm going to do something for this bhakti, right? He has said, I have, this devotee is wanting me in this particular way. He has fallen in love with this particular form. He has come and, so let me reveal this form to him. Let me reveal the form that is in his heart, and let him, so he can see it with his own senses here, present in this world, like a real. Of course, you have to have, for this seeing Krishna in this world, right? Well, there's not much point to it really, if you don't have the proper body, right? So usually when you talk about, like in Vrindavan, there are many, many stories of saints, bhajananandis, who had visions of Krishna or Radha. And it's very much the, they're in their bhajananandi body, yeah? They're in the material body, they're in the body of a sadhaka, they're in their sadhaka deha. So in that sadhaka deha, they might see Radha and Krishna. They might see a young cowherd boy and say, that's Krishna. They might see a young gopi and think, oh, that's Gopi, that's Radha, right? And maybe something will happen. Radha will bring them a glass of milk when they're hungry. Or some other way, right? There's some showing of that Radha and Krishna come out of their world and enter into this world of the sadhaka. But that can't be the final story, because you have to have an appropriate body in order to be able to serve Radha and Krishna, right? So that's just kind of a foretaste. It's not the, let's say, it's not the real thing. It's not the real thing in the sense that it's, yes, it confirms, and it confirms your. It confirms your mood. It gives you some feeling of some special ecstasy, some special grace. So that's really the thing that we're going to be talking about. Because when it comes to the end, what's the one thing he's stressing there? He's stressing the ecstatic nature of it. All his sins, this is Prahlad now in the 796, in the verse at the end of this Anuccheda. There he was saying, oh, look, this is the ecstasy. It comes after Brahman realization. Brahman realization, you negate all the crap, all the stuff that was impeding you from having the direct experience of God in his fullest possible manifestation of joy. So he says here, nope, it's not just your purity of heart, but rather it's the manifestation, even before that purity of heart, is the manifestation of God's desire to reveal himself. And by desiring to reveal himself, he creates the yogyata in the devotee, right? So you keep on at it, you keep on practicing at it. It's like if you're practicing music and you want to be a musician, you just keep at it, you keep at it, you keep at it. And according to the grace of God, and according to the grace of Saraswati, and according to the degree of your effort, and according to the talent that God has given you, then you will expand your capacities to a point of astonishment to everyone in the world. So, so this is the thing. So at the very basis of your yogyata, so that he goes on to say, right? Because yat prakashena, so when this Bhagavan reveals himself to the devotee, then any kind of suffering, any kind of sin, any kind of obstacle that was still remaining, that would have been removed, right? So it works both ways. But if you're a devotee, then if you reach the point of seeing Krishna, well then, and that's pretty much it. You know, you're not, if you've seen Krishna and you're sure that was Krishna. Most of the stories of the sadhus in Vrindavan, they're usually kind of, sometimes it's ambiguous. Who was that little girl? Who was that little girl who brought me milk when I was starving and sick? Who was that little girl who came to me every single day? Now nobody knows where she is. Nobody sees her any longer. Who was that girl? I must have been Radha. Who else could it have been? So all your sins will be eliminated if you have anything left. All right, and so also, so is that shown? Because it says sākṣāṭkāra. So even in the sākṣāṭkāra, right? So vidyate hṛdaya grantis chidyante sarva samshaya, kṣiyante chasya karmani, drishta atmani ishvare. So drishta atmani ishvare, when you see God within yourself, when you see God within your own heart, that's your antardrishti. Then as a result of that, okay, so that's the point he's making here. As a result of that, all the knots in the heart, hṛdaya grantis, chidyante sarva samshaya, all your doubts will be eliminated. Kṣiyante chasya karmani, all his karmic bonds will be removed. So that's sākṣāṭkāra, and then sākṣāṭkāra, they also have. So yes, the same. Nahi Bhagavan agatitamidam tvad-darshanan nirnam akhila-pāpa-kṣayah. Nahi Bhagavan agatitamidam tvad-darshanat nirnam akhila-pāpa-kṣayah. So all from seeing you, all of humanity's sins are destroyed. And then there are more examples of that. And come to the next section. So it starts with Tadevam tat-prakashena. So here it is. Purusha karanani tadiya swaprakashata shakti tadatmya-pannataya eva tat-prakashata-bhimanavanti. All right, so the next problem is that when you have gotten this grace from the internal potency, so what happens? It says the senses, in other words, if you have your 5 senses, your 10 senses, all these senses are potential to see God, to perceive God, but they have to have the appropriate power, right? So that appropriate power, tadiya swaprakashata shakti, tadatmya-pannataya eva tat-prakashata-bhimanavanti. So the senses become capable of perceiving Krishna when they are imbued with the internal potency, or with the potency by which Krishna reveals himself, his self-revealing potency. So, tatra bhakti vishesha sapekshatvam uktam. So in this case, there are still some problem. There's some bhakti vishesha sapekshata. Still, a particular kind of bhakti it depends on a particular kind of bhakti. tat-sraddhadhana munayah. So he said, the chapter, what's the verse again? Ityado. Tadichha maya ityadi udaharanam cha brahma bhagavator avisheshatayaiva drishyate yatha satyavratang prati srimatsya deva vakye. So his dependence on Krishna's will and his self-revealing potency and all these examples that are given, they apply equally to whether one is talking about Brahma Sakshatkara or Bhagavat-sakshatkara. Well, that's what I was thinking. The emphasis here now is, of course, on Bhagavat-sakshatkara. But why did he use Atma Sakshatkara in the very beginning of the chapter, in the very beginning of the Anuccheda? Because I think he was keeping this particular idea open. He wants to say that Brahma Sakshatkara, mukti of the type of the Kevala devotees, is also dependent on Krishna's mercy. He has to permit it, so to speak. Man proposes and God disposes. So, and there's some verses to support that. All right. So here we come. So he says, Nitya-vyakto-pi Bhagavan ikshate nija-shaktitah tamrite pundari-kaksham kah pashetamitam prabhum. So Nitya-vyakto-pi Bhagavan ikshate nija-shaktitah tamrite pundari-kaksham kah pashetamitam prabhum. So who's going to see? Krishna is nitya-vyakta. You don't see God. He's always disappeared. He's always unmanifest. Show me God. Where is God? There is no God. I don't believe, like this. So he's nitya-vyakta. Nobody sees him. Even the ones who are out there see God. You're not going to see God so easily. But anyway, so he says, you don't see God so easily, right? He's always out of sight. But you can see him, ikshate nija shaktitaha, by his energy, by his power. Tamrite pundarikaksham kakpashetamitam prabhu. So who will see the measureless Lord with lotus eyes if he does not reveal himself? So that was the basic subject. And then of course we have our famous Shruti verse. Very, very important Shruti verse for us. It says, Yame vaishe vrinute tena labhyas tasyaisha atma vibrinoti tanum swam. So if it's the one that the Atma chooses. So maybe that's why he used Atma Sakshatkara, right? So Atma Sakshatkara. So here, this is one of these verses where the Atma, what is this Atma? The self will reveal himself. Right? Yame vaisha vrinute tena labhyas. So again, this is the connection here. So you want, if you're a Vaishnava, when it says he gets Brahman, then you see the duality there of the two-ness. And the Advaitavadi, he sees the oneness, right? And then it starts to go on from there. I know I've told this story before, but we have this in Sanskrit. Yeah. The Soham. Some person went and wrote on the wall, Soham. I am that. And then a devotee came along and he wrote, putting just the one letter at the beginning, said Da. So Da Soham. So Da instead of Soham, I am that, or I am he. And I am God, right? This is the I am God, I am Tattvamasi. So Soham, I am that God. devotee went and wrote, Dasoham, I am the son, I am the servant of God. I am the servant. So then the other person came by there and he put another S. He wrote S again in front of the Da. So it became Sada Soham. I am always that. Right? So even though if you're a dasa, okay, this is one of these cases where the argument takes place letter by letter, right? So you're saying you're a dasa, that's very, very good. But ultimately a dasa is also identifying with with the one he serves. So that the two of them in the service, they become as one. So therefore it's still the case that even after bhakti, and sada soham, I'm still one with the object of my worship. And then the other devotee came along, he wrote dasa dasoham. Put the da again there in front. Dasa dasoham. The da so dasaha dasoham. I'm the servant of the servant. So they're both right. They're both right. The oneness is still there. But the dasya and the dasya of the dasya, and this is where Līlā takes place. This is where rasa takes place. This is where ananda takes place. Without those, there's no bliss, no ananda. Right. So yameva isha vrinute tena labhyas tasyaisha atma vrinute tanum sam. So you're not going to do it. Nayam atma pravachanena labhya na medhaya na bahuna srutena. Yameva isha vrinute tena labhyas tasyaisha atma vrinute tanum swam. Yes, very good. Right. When he chooses to reveal himself, then he will reveal himself. We are dependent on the mercy of God. And who will deny it? Right? Everybody is dependent on the mercy of God, whether they believe in God or not. All right, so the heart must be pure for the internal potency to manifest. So this is the next point, right? So, tatas-tat-karana shuddhyapekshapi tat-shakti prafalanatam pratifalanatam. So it's not just the heart, it's the senses here he's talking about. So the senses have to be imbued with the with the internal potency. So the senses must be purified just like the mind must be purified. So you purify your senses. How do you purify your senses? Well, we're doing that right now by reading Priti Samdarbha. Right? We're purifying the intelligence. We're purifying the mind. We're purifying the tongue. We're purifying the ears. We're purifying the heart. We're purifying everything by studying topics of Radha and Krishna and by trying to understand the thoughts of the Purva Acharyas. So the next subject then is Sākṣātkārābhāsa. So the Sākṣātkārābhāsa is saying, well, sometimes people with impure hearts, ashuddha citta namapi tat-sākṣāṭkāra shrūyate sadhat-kalu tadabhasa eva. So ashuddha citta, those who are impure in their heart, they also sometimes see Krishna. We hear about that. He says, yes, but that's called Sākṣātkārābhāsa. It's a reflection. It's not really seeing. So when it looks like seeing, but it's not really seeing, right? That's called abhasa. And here again, he's got a verse from the Puranas, from Padma Purana. Nice. So you come to the Puranas and you get things stated more explicitly, even than the Bhagavatam. The other Puranas are coming after the Bhagavatam, so they've got a little bit more to say. So they want to make it a little bit more clearer. Yogi bhira drishyate bhaktya na bhaktya drishyate kvachit drashtum na shakyo roshatcha matsarat bhajanardanaha. So the yogis see Janardana and Bhagavan out of devotion. And nobody sees him unless they have devotion. So one cannot see God out of anger or out of jealousy or envy. You don't get to see God by challenging him or by figuring him out logically. You'll have to figure it out. All right, so I'll just scroll down here. So natasya sākṣātkārābhāsasya mukti sangyatvam. So we've been saying that sākṣātkāra was mukti, that liberation, that seeing Krishna, that's a kind of mukti. That is mukti. That was the definition we got. Go back a couple of Anuccheds. Right? I think it was number 6, or at the end of 5, right? The words there were of Prahlad. No, that's the one I'm thinking of. So the idea that he called apavarga, right? Mukta sangaya ishitopavarga. That was the phrase. So the mukta sangas, those who are already liberated, they desire this liberation. That was the idea of the verse. So here he says, but in this particular case, seeing Krishna is not worthy of being called. You can't call it mukti, because these people didn't have the bhakti. So the important thing is the bhakti, not the seeing of Krishna. That's the point. You see Krishna by bhakti. Bhaktyaham, yogi bhya drishyate bhaktya, na bhaktya drishyate kvachit. That's how you're going to see him, through bhakti. Right? And so then he goes into here. So now what happens after that? Well, we have the whole story of Shishupala as it's told in the Vishnu Purana. So I'm not going to do that now. We'll do that when we go to it later on. Right? So there that story was told, and he'll come back to that story again here, that he saw Krishna, but he didn't really see Krishna. That was the point. And so, all right, so he goes on, talks about it, about not being able to see, their aparadhas are the problem. So then he comes to the next one. So now 2 kinds of mental impurity related to Bhagavan. So asvacha chitta. So there's asvacha chitta. So we talk about the mind not being pure. So there are 2 kinds of mental impurity. So there are some Bhagavad Bahirmukha and Bhagavad Vidveshinascha. So some people are just indifferent, and some people are actually opposed. So Bahirmukha, some are, so the 2 kinds of asvacha, they're impure, their brains are impure, their hearts are impure, because they're either indifferent or they're actually actively opposed to thinking of Krishna. So tad bahirmukha, so that prevents them, or that means that even if they see Krishna, they don't see Krishna. That's what we're getting at here. So the idea that here we are, we're not living at the time of an avatar. But in actual fact, Krishna is present, as we were saying the other day. Krishna actually is present fully, right, as Bhagavan in every atomic portion of the creation. So he's present there. Right? During the avatar time, he's apparent to people who don't see him. Isn't that funny? He is visible to people, but he's not visible to everyone. Naham prakashak sarvasya yogamaya samavritaha. So let me just go on. So those 2 things. So then that will go on for a while. And then there's a question about, okay, so now sometimes we see the devotees appear to be materialistic. So what's that all about? He says, well, the Gopas, they whatever wealth or whatever riches they had, whatever possessions they had, it was all for Krishna, and nothing was for themselves. It was all for serving him. And sometimes the role of the Līlā-śakti, sometimes the Līlā-śakti comes and makes it appear that one of the devotees is somehow or another impure in his heart, or impure in his devotion. But that is sometimes just for the sake of Līlā. The Līlā-śakti impels, just like Arjuna at the time of the Kurukshetra Yuddha. Suddenly he became confused. So he was not a man to be confused, but he became temporarily confused. That was the action of the Līlā-śakti. All right, and so then then the next subject is, so that still continues on, that the devotee sometimes appears to be overcome by Māyā. So that is, but he says that, and then we go on further, so that's a long section there, because we get into a couple of things that is about Yudhishthira and about Muchukunda and stuff like that, about what exactly happened to those people. Why did Yudhishthira go to hell in the Mahabharata? Well, he didn't really go to hell. That was and that whole thing is being discussed. That's quite a long discussion. All right, so then he has one more thing. So Krishna's enemies are of two kinds. So we had the Krishna's Bahirmukha, and then there were the Dveshina. So now the Dveshinas being further on and cut into pieces. And so that will be divided into, some people can see that he's beautiful, but they're too envy. And, they can see his beauty, but they can't taste his madhurya. They don't have any taste for it, so they hate him. And then, so they're like people like Kali Yavana, and so on. So I'm not going to, we'll go through that. We'll just go right here to the, running out of time here. So it says, only pure souls can have a direct vision of Bhagavan, and that is called mukti. So, tasmat swachcha chittanam eva sākṣāṭkāra sa eva mukti sangya iti stitam tasya brahma sākṣāṭkārāt api utkarshahas. To Sri Bhagavata-sandarbhe sanakari vaikunta darshana prastave Sri Nārda-vyasa sangvadādi Māyā brahma bhagavata taratamya prakarani cha darshita eva. So he's referring you back to the Bhagavat-sandarbha, and he's saying here, concluding this whole thing, he says that the Bhagavat-sakshatkara that is done with a pure heart, that is called liberation. So just to see Krishna, so we said seeing Krishna, that was the thing. But now he's putting a little bit of an extra on there. It's not just seeing Krishna, it has to be seeing Krishna with a pure heart. And that has to be seeing Krishna with a pure heart. And that pureness of heart comes by the grace of the internal potency. Shuddha chitte koraye uday. Shravanadi shuddha chitte koraye uday. Through the process of bhakti yoga, purifying the senses, imbuing the senses with the internal potency by constantly rubbing them against the internal potency through Shravanam and Kirtanam. In that way, one's heart becomes pure, and when one sees Krishna, then one actually be able to see him. And that brings us to the verse. tat-kara-sparśa-dhutākhilāśubhaḥ sapady abhivyakta-parātma-darśanaḥ tat-pāda-padmaṁ hṛdi nirvṛto dadhau hṛṣyat-tanuḥ klinna-hṛd-aśru-locanaḥ. So that's doing, so we did all that without looking at the translation. And now we're going to go back and we're going to do it again, looking at the translation. So here what it said, the translation was here. All the sins of Prahlāda were dispelled by the touch of Bhagavan's hand, and the direct realization of the Supreme Brahman was revealed to him immediately. Being happy, he took Bhagavan's lotus feet in his heart, with his hair standing on end out of joy, his heart being soft, and his eyes full of tears. Jai Jai Radhe Krishna Govinda, Jai Jai Radhe Krishna Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Jai Jai Radhe Krishna Govinda, Jai Jai Radhe Krishna Govinda, Jai Jai Shyam Sundar Madana Mohan Vrindavana Chandra Jai Jai Radha Kanta Radha Vinod Sri Radha Govinda Jai Jai Radha Raman Ras Bihari Sri Gokulananda Jai Jai Raseshwari Vinodini Bhanukula Chandra Jai Jai Lalita Vishakha Adi Jata Sakhi Vrinda Jai Jai Sri Rupa Manjari Adi Manjari Ananga Jai Jai Purnamasi Kundalata Jaya Vira Vrinda Tomra Kripa Kori Deo He Jugal Charanarvindam Deho Jugal Charanarvindam Deho Jugal Charanarvindam Jai Jai Radhe Krishna Govinda Jai Jai Radhe Krishna Govinda Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Jai Jai Radhe Krishna Govinda Jai Jai Radhe Krishna Govinda Jai Jai Sri Radhe Jai Jai Sri Radhe Jai Jai Sri Radhe Shyam Jai Jai Sri Vrindavana Dham Jai Jai Sri Radhe